Hi, I'm Hilary Russo. Thanks for joining me for the HIListically Speaking Podcast. I'm a certified holistic health coach and Havening Techniques practitioner, lover of great conversation, and of course, clever wordplay, HIListically speaking. So welcome to an empowering place where my guests share their transformational stories of trauma to triumph through health, healing, and humor. It's the ultimate brain candy as we find out who we are, how we got that way, and what it takes to be a happy and healthy grown-up. And be kind to your mind. I'm glad you're here. My, oh my, oh my. What a difference a year makes. And here we are, 365 trips around the sun, 50 episodes in the can, and you're still here. So hi there. I'm so glad you stuck around, and I hope you'll continue to share the space with me. So lots has happened in the last year, aside from us finally being able to see the light of day and leave our homes. Good things are actually brewing all over the place, right? Even here on HIListically Speaking. We recently found out that Squadcast named us the number one of 15 interview podcasts you should listen to. Yay! And clearly, you're doing just that, so thank you. We must be doing something right, and I share this because that recognition wouldn't be possible without my guests. The trauma to triumph stories being shared. Without them, I'd be, well, holistically speaking to myself, I guess. So during our time together, to celebrate a year of conversations, I couldn't think of a more powerful way to say thank you to listeners, guests, supporters, family, friends, my mom, always my mom, than by taking a look back at some of the most influential and inspiring moments that have happened over the course of a year. Trust me, narrowing down this list was not easy. But let me ask you something, because I love to get your thoughts on things. What has been your favorite episode? What conversations have resonated with you? Share your thoughts, connect with me, let me know. And if you haven't done so already, consider leaving a rating and review of HIListically Speaking, wherever you listen to podcasts. However, Apple Podcast is a great place to do so. And yes, I read them all. It helps me bring more brain candy right to you, especially in future episodes. Like with my clients, I feel like I learn so much from each guest who chooses to be here. When they share their personal journeys, I find that I'm a better listener. I want to do more and be more in this world. It does something to us, right? To hear these stories, the transformational journeys, the vulnerability, the courage. When people choose to use their voice, to share their mess and turn it into their message, it has an impact that can really touch, move, and inspire us. So, speaking of the voice, let's take a look back at episode 26 with singer-songwriter Kat Robichaux. She's a raspy rock and roll spitfire who I met years ago during her early days on the music scene in Raleigh, North Carolina. But much has changed since those days. Hollywood brought her national attention, as well as a lot of lessons. What did she learn? Take a listen.
We're all from oppressive towns. They call us lost, but here we found a place where we can be ourselves, whatever that may be. And if you want to, we can do whatever you want to, just as long as you can pay the rent. I felt like an outsider for most of my life. I remember, as soon as I was eliminated, I walked off the soundstage and I walked out of the door and it shut and I was alone. And I remember that feeling of, okay, that's it. And when I moved to the Bay Area, I think I experienced a level of acceptance that I'd never felt before, ever. It's not on them. It's not on them. It's on me to take the lessons that I've learned, grab the fans that I've gained, and go and do my own thing and take the gift that was given to me of having this enormous platform. You know what I mean?
We all have a platform, don't we? And for people like Kat, or even my dear friend Lipbone Redding, The man behind the music on Hilistically Speaking, music is therapy. As a performer myself for many years, I truly found my escape at the microphone and on the stage. And living in New York for over a decade, I also saw the true dedication of performers. They'll perform anywhere to share their gift. It's their heart's work, and you can see it deep down into their core, as well as below the city, like in the subways, including Lipbone. But 9/11 changed all that, and so did his music on many levels, including spiritually. Let's vibrate higher for a moment, shall we? With Lipbone from episode 9.
For years, I was like doing this whole thing in New York City and, playing in the jazz club. And it was like, champagne brunches and good times. And when I moved out of the city and I started to just roam about, I started to visit places like yoga ashrams, spiritual communities, like I say that in quotes because, whatever, there's a lot of different definitions of that. But I've started, some of my music has started to kind of go that way. I do a workshop now called Om Prana workshop. And basically it's pranayama breathing and all things that are near and dear to me and are part of my sort of elements of my career up until now.
Making a career in the arts can certainly be a challenge. Voice lessons, acting classes, dance sessions, auditions, rejections, celebrations, long days, late nights, focus, lots of focus. It's all in there. And let's face it, it's not uncommon for that inner bully to come into play. Alan Seales gets to the heart of those stories on his show, The Theater Podcast. Now, you've heard me talk about Alan numerous times. He's not only a good friend, he's also the producer of Hilistically Speaking and the man behind the Broadway Podcast Network. Broadway. Ugh, beautiful words, right? It will be good to see the lights go on again. But on episode 10, Alan shares more about finding balance, loving Broadway, and being yourself.
Broadway star after star after star having the same story of imposter syndrome and anxiety and the struggle of maintaining the struggle of maintaining success, the pressure of being successful. And like, it's just these stories that I want to bring to the public eye to let everybody know, especially now that it's so easy to connect with your favorite celebrity via social media, that, at the most rudimentary level, everybody poops, right? You hear that same thing, but in the same respect, you might feel bad about yourself. You might feel down on one day. You might feel up on another day. And even the greatest people in the world still struggle with those challenges. And those are the stories. I want to humanize people and bring their stories to the world.
So one person who is definitely holding space for stories to be told all over the world is Leon Logothetis. If you have ever seen the TV show The Kindness Diaries, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I knew before I even had this podcast that I wanted Leon on the show after seeing The Kindness Diaries, and I even shared that sweet moment with him during episode 21. His journeys and conversations have touched the hearts of many, including mine. And when he said yes, I knew in that moment there's a reason he's known as the kindness guy, but not without a little help from a friend.
Winston was my dog, Boston Terrier. And he really taught me how to love. I know it was like a pure love that I allowed myself to feel and to give. And I realized that, he wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, he was a professional nut job. I mean, sorry, he just was, right? I mean, he mirrored me ultimately, yeah? And I mirrored him. I made him into a nut job. If you'd seen how I treated him, there's no way he could not be a nut job, not be a nut job. And he was sometimes very annoying, blah, blah, blah. But I realized that I was very patient with him and I was very kind to him and I was very loving to him, imperfectly, but most of the time. And I thought to myself, well, what would happen if I went out into the world and I treated you the same way I treated him? And it came to me that it's a choice. It's a choice how we show up.
Showing up for each other is truly a valuable lesson. But what about the way we show up for ourselves? When I first came across Sarah Payton's book, Your Resonant Self, I was blown away. A nonviolent communication expert, Sarah's approach to the power of empathy and resonance has the capacity to open doors to more loving relationships on every level, beginning with 2 simple words. Of course. On episode 20, she explains the powerful shift with words to love by.
Well, as soon as we can say the words, we're shifting, and this is key for making our brains good places to live, is the experience of naming unnamed experience. When we give words to things that we've never named before, they settle inside of us, and we can, once they become explicitly available, we can ask ourselves, hey, if this is a contract, do I want to keep it? And sometimes people are like, yes, I want to keep this contract. This contract keeps me safe. And sometimes people say, heck no, this is not a contract that I want Sarah to have to live with. I release you from this contract, Sarah, and I revoke this vow. And it's not so simple, but people's bodies really shift in the experience of naming what has never been put into words before.
And when it comes to the contracts we make with ourselves, it can also pave the way for the ones we make with others. Toxic relationships that don't serve us. Narcissism. Yeah, been there, done that. It's a word that's become more of a trend in recent years. But one person who knows this topic like the back of her hand is rock and roll coach Ronnie, my guest and my friend on episode 7. Ronya Frazier is internationally known for her work in narcissistic abuse recovery. But not only as a coach, she's been through it, and she has her own story to tell.
It's like an addiction, that's because they give you all of this, the love and the affection and the touch and, saying the right things and all of that. And then they take it away. And at that point, I had no idea what had hit me. It was literally within 45 days of meeting him, not even dating, 45 days of meeting him, I went from being highly functioning, very independent, and as I said, successful and strong-minded and all of that to straight into ER.
So where does the blame go? Frankly, both sides have a responsibility in any relationship, as therapist Catherine Woodward Thomas shared in episode 34. The best-selling author known for her conscious uncoupling approach and calling in the one said that it's the 3% that matters most. What is the 3%? Take a listen.
First of all, if you feel resentful, it's probably for good reason. Let's just assume somebody misbehaved, somebody has a personality disorder, somebody did what they shouldn't have done, they didn't do their best by you. Okay, all of that is true, is valid, you've got it correct. However, even if the other person's 97% at fault, you want to be so interested in your 3%.
I want to take a moment to say thank you again for listening to Hilistically Speaking. I have so much gratitude for all of you who I get to share space with every week. What a community we're building. And when I think about gratitude, I really can't imagine not mentioning my guest from the very first episode, the gratitude guru himself, Chris Schembra, the guy that said yes to being on the show before there even was one. So thanks, Chris. I met Chris during one of his 747 Club gatherings. It was a chance to connect with people virtually during the pandemic. But what I learned from Chris and his dinner parties was this. He truly followed a specific recipe for success, one that came with many lessons, as he shared on the show. But the recipe was simple, actually. Gratitude and pasta, or as he calls it, the secret sauce to human connection.
in July of 2015. I had just come back from Italy after producing a Broadway play over there. And when I got back to New York City, I realized this isn't it. I am not aligned with what I need to be doing. I felt 4 things in that deep, dark moment: lonely, unfulfilled, disconnected, and insecure. And I had no choice but to try to claw my way out. I've got the marks on, I got the scars of suicide, depression, jail, rehab on the resume. And I thought back to what I loved most about Italy that sparked this kind of new awakening. And I realized it was the food.
Food definitely brings us together, doesn't it? But it also has the capacity to heal or hurt us if we don't listen to our bodies. And sometimes it takes a shift in our lives, a wake-up call, an aha moment. So I've known Joyce Rockwood for over 25 years. She is my go-to gal when it comes to holistic health and healing. She is my sister from another mister, as we call each other. And let me tell you, this gal knows her shit. No pun intended. I mean, she is called the Rinse Princess after all. You'll have to listen to the episode to learn more about that. But before she got healthy, things got real in her personal life. Look, we laughed a lot in episode 6. It's what girlfriends do. But she also shared a tender moment that let us see the heart of detox and depression.
For me, the big turning point was, I'll just never forget, Hilary, when they came home, my mom and dad, from his very first shock therapy treatment. I was about, I think, 12 at the time now. And my mom approached me and she said, very calmly, very much collected, because my mom's amazing like that. Mm-hmm. Daddy's had his first shock therapy treatment. And he's okay. But he might not remember you. Mm. And even to this day, when I say that, I get so welled up. And a lot of people listening might think, oh my God, as a 12-year-old, that must have been so traumatic. But it's so funny, Hilary, I actually was feeling for him more than myself in that moment.
It all boils down to trusting your gut, because we have 2 brains, our intuition and the microbiome. Dr. Vincent Pedre shares more about that in episode 44, and he can definitely relate to what happens when things go awry. Known as America's gut doctor, Dr. P shared his own healing journey and how it not only brought functional medicine into his life, but a happy gut as well.
Your digestive system is the key to happiness. I mean, there's a saying in Spanish for children, full stomach, happy heart. So all the things that anyone that's suffering from gut issues, from irritable bowel syndrome, has probably dealt with at one point in time, and also even like mental health issues like anxiety, sometimes depression, but there's a really strong connection between the gut and the brain. And it wasn't until I started healing all these things, and really when I learned functional medicine after my training as a doctor, that really put me on the path to healing. And I realized that what I thought was going to be my normal for the rest of my life was actually not something I had to live with.
So how do you choose to live your life? Do you consider yourself a positive person? Do you find your yay in every day? Look, being a ray of sunshine 24/7 can take some work, I get it. And so does Megan Murphy. This author of Your Fully Charged Life has made it her mission to help people find their yay. And if you've ever seen Megan share joy on the morning shows, you'd wonder how she could be anything but. The fact is, even she had to work to turn that frown upside down. She gets to the heart of her happiness in episode 8.
People are always sort of like, you have such good energy. You're so energized. Like, I wish I could bottle your energy. And I thought to myself, well, that's why I'm here then. That's my purpose, is to share this energy. But obviously I can't give an IV drip to everybody of my secret juju, but I can write about it, and I can talk about it, and I can share the very real strategies and science-backed tips and tricks that I have employed to change me. Like if I could go from grumpy to happy, anybody can.
Well, that seems like the perfect place to drop a big old yay and wrap up this episode in our first year of Hilistically Speaking. To all of you out there that take the time to listen, I just want to say that I cannot thank you enough for your dedication and support. It is because of you that I'm devoted to bringing you more conversations, more stories, and more brain candy every week on this show. And remember, if any part of this episode or the podcast resonates with you, consider sharing it with just one person. It can make a difference more than you know. And while you're at it, leave a review, leave a rating whenever you get a chance. Your thoughts are always appreciated. If you want to reach out to me personally and learn more about how I can support you on your healing journey, connect with me on my website at hilaryrusso.com, on social media, LinkedIn, Clubhouse, at Hilary Russo. I would love to hear from you. Hilistically Speaking is produced by Alan Seals with music by Lipbone Redding and, of course, recorded on Squadcast. And finally, and as always, I'll leave you with this. Be kind to your mind and don't forget to laugh.